tasted that. Num 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 num, eat it up. Go play okay.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. So kind of the summary, what we're going to tell you in this video is basically can be summed up in the sentence: be happy, just be happy with what you got, if you can. That's a secret maybe to life. It's not a secret to life, but it's something to talk about. So for whatever reason, and I really don't understand why, January right out the gate 2023, the conversation is all about basically Dan Slott. So Dan Slott himself really turned up the volume on social media around She-Hulk, which is puzzling because She-Hulk is a Disney Plus show, and it's come and gone. It's actually done. We've had other things since the She-Hulk show ended. We've had the Werewolf by Night thing came out after, and we also had the Guardians holiday special. We're gearing up towards Secret Invasion and Loki 2 and some. I mean, like, She-Hulk's in the rearview mirror at this point. In terms of a series, and a lot of people ask me this question, and I'm not sure entirely why. For whatever reason, several comic creators, several people on one side of the aisle with comics, really went pretty aggressive with She-Hulk is an accurate depiction of the comics. What's odd about that is that they didn't really make that argument for Moon Knight or for Miss Marvel or for any number of other things. But for She-Hulk, they drew kind of a line in the sand and said, this one is comics accurate. And I don't really get why, honestly. And by the way, the same thing is true of the people screaming about it, saying the She-Hulk is not comics accurate. Like, okay, did we just wake up and start watching the MCU? I mean, did Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and Loki and all these other series, did they come across as comics accurate to you? I mean, like, at what, like, was the She-Hulk worse somehow? I don't think it was. So I don't get this fight at all. I don't get why either. I frankly don't feel I understand why either side is throwing down for this particular piece. But one of the moments, there's a couple things in She-Hulk. So first of all, I'll give you my opinion, because a lot of people have asked, well, Perch, is She-Hulk accurate? Like, Dan Slott says it's comics accurate. Do you say it's comics accurate? Apparently I'm an expert on She-Hulk. And the answer is sort of. Parts of it are, for sure. I think it is probably more comics accurate than those other shows I mentioned. It's more comics accurate than WandaVision was, than Captain America, Falcon, Bucky was. It's not as, I mean, I think the original Thor movie, the original Captain America movie, probably more comics accurate than She-Hulk. I saw that Dan Slott posted that She-Hulk was the most comics accurate MCU adaptation. I disagree. I think Thor and Captain America probably are better examples of that. But sure, it's more or less there. The breaking of the third wall, which happened in the final episode of She-Hulk, where she broke the third wall and went to go kind of yell at the creators. I mean, that happened in the comic book, particularly John Byrne's version. It happened a lot. Rainbow Rowell recently referenced it. I'll be honest, I don't recall if Dan Slott did do the break the fourth wall stuff. I mean, I think he did, but not the level that Byrne did. And the conclusion to She-Hulk was very reminiscent of, She-Hulk like crawling out of the comic and going and yelling at the, comic editors and the people there. I mean, that was the thing that wasn't necessarily comic accurate is that the show really seemed to have an agenda or a motive or a desire to make a statement on fandom, particularly toxic fandom and angry men fans. And this really kind of kicked into super gear in the last 2 episodes or so, where kind of the angry male fans are angry for reasons. And the writers of the show gave interviews saying they were doing this. Like, we wanted to actually tweak and piss off, this part of the fandom. So that's fine. But that really wasn't in the comic book, not the one that Dan Slott did, not the one that John Byrne did. There was not, like, Dan Slott didn't write parts of the comic screwing with angry fans online. He didn't do it. Maybe he would. I mean, not maybe. I'm positive he would today if he was writing the book, but he didn't. That really wasn't part of She-Hulk. She-Hulk had kind of this disdain, and this is a nuanced point, but it's a really important one. I have a feeling like the group that normally doesn't like it when I go into nuance will like this one, and that is that when John Byrne was writing She-Hulk, there was a certain like cynicism about comics, about kind of characters, about the creators of comics. The She-Hulk was always making jokes about John Byrne being a hack, and about the how the editors had to put up with a bunch of shit, and just kind of the creation of comics. In the in the She-Hulk show, the disdain was for the audience, not the movie writers, not the show writers. I mean, She-Hulk did like, "Are you serious? Is this a plot we're going with?" There was that, so I'm not saying it wasn't none of it, but more of the disdain was geared toward the viewers, which was this is a pretty significant difference between comic accurate and what was in the movies, depending on your point of view. My feeling is that if I was sitting here arguing with Dan Slott, he would completely ignore and not understand what I was saying on purpose. But there's a big difference, and so the tone of the show felt different between the two. It had a different kind of feel to it than the comics in that way. But by and large, sure, I guess. I get back to my original premise. I don't know why anybody is throwing down about She-Hulk. I don't know why Dan Slott woke up on New Year's Eve and decided, fuck it, I'm gonna tell these people off for saying that the She-Hulk show is not accurate enough. Part of the entire argument is based off of She-Hulk twerking in the show, which was in a post-credit scene, which, as I mentioned before, and I think she told you herself in the review, my younger daughter loved it. She brings it up all the time. She-Hulk twerks. She loved it because it was ridiculous and stupid and silly. Okay, I don't feel one way or another about it. I know that there were a bunch of people who like immediately fell to their fainting couch because She-Hulk shaked her ass, and if that's going to bother you, I don't know what to tell you. I feel that feels disingenuous to me. I'm sorry. Several of the people who are arguing about that are the same people who show up in my comments arguing about the fact that Captain Marvel's tits have shrunk. So I do not believe you that this is suddenly kind of violating your moral sensibilities. I don't get. I'm gonna call bullshit on that. But regardless whether you liked it or didn't like it, I think Dan Slott showing up on social media to piss all over everybody for it. I don't get it. Like man, I don't know what's wrong with you. And then he went through this fight, and he basically did the kind of, hey, this is the most comic accurate thing ever, and if you think otherwise, you're wrong. Fight me. And then some people did, and then Dan Slott's like, how dare these people come fight me? I'm running a blockchain because I don't want to hear all the. I mean, dude, you asked for it. I'm sorry. Some people absolutely get trolled and bounced on Twitter. There are some people who are just nice, innocent YouTubers doing their thing while they're driving the car, and people decide to, scrape their videos and do retarded streams on them. That does happen. But in this case, Slott, what are you doing, man? You asked for a fight. People gave you a fight, and then you said people were fighting you. I mean, Jesus Christ, what's wrong? What the hell? But this is, I think, the part of the Disney documentary that showed that Slott was trying to write Iron Man, but then he kept getting distracted by Twitter, and he's more, it was like an addiction. It was meant as a joke, but it showed kind of a sad man who, was fully addicted to social media. That's actually what the video showed, whether they intended it or not. He's not going to be helped at this point. There's not a, like, I can't, if Dan Slott's listening to this right now, and there's a good chance he is, because I know he's listened before. I don't know what you're doing, man. I don't know why I don't know why you picked this fight. I don't know what the point of it was. The show's over. I mean, if people think it isn't true to the comic, like, who cares? You're getting a check from Marvel. Why do you care? What is the point? You can't win that fight. What's your goal? Your goal is to own the chuds? Is that the goal? It's a weird goal. I don't know. I don't see the point of the fight. I just don't. Not when you have other things going on. I don't get it. But like I said, I think this is an addiction. And so there's no point really going off about it. So, instead I'll turn my attention to the other group, to you, the fans, to the people who are fighting Dan Slott and letting him get under your skin because maybe he blocked you or called you a chud or whatever it happens to be. Here's my advice to you. Block Dan Slott. I blocked Dan Slott some time ago. I did it. I was blocked. He ran a blockchain against somebody. I got caught in it. I was suddenly blocked by Dan Slott. And about 6 months later, unblocked by Dan Slott. A couple months went by, blocked again. Again, I'm assuming by some kind of chain. I don't know, because he would still, talk to me from time to time. So, I don't know. I don't think he realized. I don't care. Anyway, then I got unblocked. And in this recent fiasco, I started seeing it spin up again, and I blocked him. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to go through the cycle anymore. I just don't. It's stupid. I am not the biggest Dan Slott hater. I think as you've seen from the sales videos, he wrote a Spider-Man that sold many copies for my store. So I will say thank you for that. I thought his Iron Man was atrocious. I thought his Fantastic Four was pretty crappy. But everybody, there's some things you like, there's some things you don't like. That's life. But this nonsense again, kill it, kill the past. Just block it, call it a day. You don't have to, of course. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm sure, hopefully some dumbass will have some take like Perch is telling us Dan Slott is completely innocent and that we're at fault. If that's your take, you are correct. You're at fault. Also, dropped on your head as a child. That is true. All I'm saying is, this argument about whether She-Hulk is comic accurate or not, it's up to you. You're the consumer. You're the reader. Does this ring true to you? To the comic? Do you care about that? Then you're right. You win the argument. You get to decide. It's your dollar. It's your time. It's your thing you're going to consume. You get to decide. Unfortunately, this is entirely subjective. It really is. You can try to get objective with this scene was related to that scene and everything else, but then you're going to have to open up the door to measuring it against Captain America and Iron Man and all these other movies, and God help you. It's I don't think it can be done. And then you got to get into tone and whether the scene was conveyed properly, whatever else. I mean, there's no win. There's no objective win to this argument. So it's entirely subjective. Do you think it's comic accurate? If no, you win. You have won. Don't waste your time with Dan Slott. In every single way, he's not worth it. Especially not when we're into a new year. We're all supposed to be celebrating and/or drunk, and we're going to pick a fight about a show that's been done for a couple months now. The person who does that is 100% trolling you. It is bait. Go look up the meme, bait. This is bait. You're baiting. Dan Slott's baiting all over the... No, I'm just kidding. It's bait. Don't fall for the bait. This is not a serious comment. This was a desire to rile people up. It did rile people up. He then got to make comments about blocking a bunch of people. I don't know. Maybe he slept like a baby that night. I have no idea. All I know is the time that got invested into this dumbass fight about She-Hulk was time that was not spent on writing comics. And, given the last two, I'm okay with that. Here's a hot take for you. I'll leave you with this in the comments. Think carefully. Parakeet, by the way. But if think carefully about this. Some of the people that you're really pissed about wasting so much time on social media. You come to be like, Vita's wasting time, Mags is wasting time, Dan Slott is wasting time, Tom King is wasting time. That time that they're spending on social media, that is time. All of that time is time that is not being spent writing Heroes in Crisis 2. I'm just saying, Mags wants to make, DC characters trans. Would you rather have Mags doing that, or would you rather have Mags wasting time with dumb Twitter tweets? I'm just saying, if your goal is that you like comics to be as they are and not have some of these crazy stories that drive you nuts, maybe, just maybe, the right thing to do is to encourage these people to tweet more, to spend more of their time doing it. I'm being a little facetious here, but then again, I'm just saying, if we are spared Iron Man 2020, the sequel, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with tweets and blocking and shenanigans and bait and trolling and all the rest. I'll take that. I'll take that sacrifice to not ever get a sequel to that terrible event. Anyway, I'm just being silly at this point. There you have it. Thanks for listening.